Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, welcome. We're about to dive into our final session of the day. But first, a quick reminder to join in with the networking and poster session that follows and to get involved, ask your questions during this session, be as interactive as possible. I'd like to introduce Laura Dunn Nelson, VP of Food Safety and Global Alliances at Intertek Alchemy, talking to us all the way from Texas, the US. She'll be delivering a case study on powering your workforce. Laura, over to you.
Thanks, Beth Ann. Hello, Food Integrity Conference attendees. Thank you for taking the time out of your day, evening, morning to join us. The fact that you're here and you've hung in with this long but informative day really speaks highly of you and your commitment to your employees and to your company. We appreciate your efforts and look forward to sharing the ROI of an effective training program. And it's really through the eyes of our customers. First, I'll start with a quick introduction. Intertek Alchemy helps over 1,000 food processors, manufacturers, warehouse distribution companies of all sizes and across the globe really power their workforce. With nearly 20 years of experience, our industry-leading training solutions ensure that everyday decisions made by your employees have a positive impact on your culture and your organization. Each year we partner with our peers in the industry to evaluate the current trends in food safety training programs across the globe. And this year we had well over 1,200 respondents, food safety professionals responding to the survey. And I'd like to highlight for you today those findings so that you can benchmark maybe your organization and the data with the summaries of the data from across the globe. So as I said, we've been providing this survey for now, I think we're on our 6th or 7th year. And we've been asking ever since 2018 what people are doing around food safety culture. And because we know there was a strong link between training and food safety culture. And so happy to report that now over 30% of the food safety professionals responded saying, yes, we've had at least one food safety culture assessment, which is a really big improvement, 114% since 2018. So that's really exciting. And congratulations to those of you who have taken on that, because that's really the first step as you look at benchmarking your own food safety culture. Interestingly enough, 60% are saying that the culture level is great, and they're using that to measure their value of training. So is training working? Is it effective? And marrying up that data. So that's really exciting. And then one of the most amazing stats that I found from our survey was a whopping 74% of leaders said that they understand how to build a strong food safety culture, which is amazing because this topic has been evolving over a very compressed amount of years. So hugely impressive there. Let me take just a moment and ask all of you, if you will, respond to this question. Despite all my employee food safety training, all the time we're spending on that, we still have employees, those rogue employees, not following our food safety protocols. So if you'll answer yes or no, true or false, is that the case for you? And we'll just take a moment to do this. And by the way, we've been asking this question ever since the inception. So now we're on that 6th year. And the data has been very consistent year over year. So I'm interested to see how all of you are going to respond to this question here. Make sure you answer in the poll section that's in the live discussion button. So We'll give that just a couple more seconds to come through. And let's see. It's going to be interesting to see just how close the data is from our global survey that we conduct. And I think it's clear to know that this provides us a potential risk. Wow, 100% of all of you said yes, that's true. Nobody said false. Man, um, that really speaks to we've got some work to do, right? So there's this disconnect. We're doing all this training, we're spending the time and those hard-earned resources to do that training, to align those employees around those correct behaviors, and yet we have 100% of all of you saying I still have those employees not following our programs, our food safety protocols. In our broader survey, we had 67% say, yes, we still have employees not following our programs. And by the way, that number has been consistent. The majority of you, year over year, have said, we're still struggling. And of course, that, as I said, that introduces an element of risk. If they do the wrong thing in the wrong area, that could produce some very, very wrong results and put your company at risk. 63% of companies rely on paper-based systems and to manage their food safety training. And it's a little bit surprising because technology like ours, but there's lots of technology out there that's available to really help build in efficiencies and help you battle against the gaps that this creates. I know when we talk to customers and partners out there, they share with us that some of the audit findings, some non-compliances out there is often because some training is missed, some refresher training is missed, and it's because we're juggling all of that paper-based systems. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. 36% of companies have no formal training program. So this is pretty astounding when we think about the importance of training as it relates to the guidance that we need to give to those employees to recognize those hazards out there. Those are our eyes and ears. We as food safety professionals, as our supervisors, we can't be every place. We've got to train those employees at a level of mastery that they are recognizing those hazards for us on a day-to-day, minute-to-minute basis. So lots of opportunity there. Hey, we have another polling question. So appreciate the first response. Hopefully we'll get a big response here. What's your biggest challenge in training your employees? So is it verifying the effectiveness of training? Did our classroom training, is it effective? Is it scheduling time for training? And man, the time is hard fought, right? In a busy factory. Delivering training in appropriate languages. You've got multiple dialects spoke, and just trying to get your arms around that's a challenge. Or organizing refresher training, is that a problem? Or managing our management commitment, just getting those resources needed to spend the time that's needed. So if you will, take a moment, assess kind of where you're at as far as your biggest challenges. We'll give this about 30 seconds to get everybody's questions coming, responses to the poll question here. And by the way, we've found that many of companies out there are really challenged by all of these, and it is something we have to think about when we're trying to optimize our learning organization and get at kind of the reason why we still have those employees not doing things. Are we not providing training at a frequency that's going to keep things top of mind? Do we lack reinforcement? All kinds of reasons. We'll again talk about more of that in a moment. So we're waiting on the last few people to respond to the poll question here. And it looks like scheduling time for training wins out. 43% said yes. And that the next thing will look like verifying effective training and organizing refresher training. So those came in quite a bit. So that's we see that right all across the board. Time. It's always about the time. In our poll, that was really the driving thing, is really how do we schedule the time for training? But we also had a fair amount of people share with us that it's another big challenge is the bad information. It's the bad habits that are being shared peer to peer with between our employees. And all the data, all the research suggests that our classroom training is just a small amount of the training. Even our supervisor coaching is just a small amount of education that we're giving those employees. The most training and guidance and education is given peer to peer. So if we have varying processes and procedures, varying messages out there, bad habits, misinformation that's being shared um, person to person, then we're going to have challenges out there. And that's a big issue. And of course, staff turnover continues to be a big issue. So really the question is, how can you create an effective training to overcome some of these challenges? And I'm happy to say you've come to the right place. So Intertech Alchemy provides training solutions in several different important areas. So we're going to talk about the training solutions we offer and some of the value that that brings. We're going to talk about reinforcement tools that are so valuable in addressing our risk, our inherent risk around food safety. And then we're going to talk about some compliance tools that we offer. So let's talk about training first. Intertech Alchemy provides hundreds of multilingual courses covering critical food safety, workplace safety, and HR fundamentals set in real processing factories. Courses can be presented in one language with subtitles in another, allowing you to really maximize your training day. And these courses are created by our own adult learning experts and instructional designers in our studio, and they're vetted by our content advisory board, and they're made up of, which is made up of companies just like yours. One of my favorite features is that each course competency is followed by interactive knowledge checks and provides a automated remediation loop that's, if needed, to re-provide the information to ensure the employee comprehension. So if you think about it, how many times have you conducted training, provided quizzes, only to get home, get to your desk, grade the quizzes, and find that a large percentage of your employees didn't answer the questions correctly, which means that you have to reschedule another costly training event or even a one-on-one. So our patented remediation loops provides that training while they're in the training event, and provides the information a little bit more succinctly, and then re-ask the question. So for other people that have answered the question already, it's just a reinforcement. But the goal is to get everybody at that proper level of comprehension. A really important training tool, and it saves people a lot of time from having to reschedule additional training events. To ensure you're providing the right training to each employee based on their job task, we provide the ability to create learning plans so that you can structure your training based on their specific job task and their needed competencies. So all employees have the ability to be given the training that really has meaning to them. And I don't know about you, but sometimes we're offering training maybe that an employee can't really use. It's not something they can apply to their day-to-day operations. And what happens is those employees kind of tune out information because then they're not sure what they need to pay attention to or what might not make sense for them. So this is a great way to make very specific learning plans based on competencies. When it comes to training deliverability, um, we provide the flexibility to train in groups up to 150 people, providing a lot of efficiencies in training or e-learning. And both of those has their role in efficiently providing onboarding, orientation, refresher, and any makeup training. And by the way, we offer those micro courses, very succinct short courses for those senior individuals that already know this information. Maybe you've been training them on hand wash year over year. So by offering a very short refresher training, you can still confirm their competencies and you save valuable time and money by putting them back onto the factory floor. I'm excited to share with you a new element of our training, and it's called Playbook. And Playbook really enables you to create, deliver, and document on the job training. So those tasks, like your SOPs, you can literally capture those the way the startup of a piece of equipment or troubleshooting a piece of equipment. Any of your SOPs, you can capture those right on the plant floor. If that wasn't good enough, you also get instant access to from our database of those employees' skill sets. So when you have a line goes down and you need to move employees around, you can look at their qualifications to see which employee is available, and you can get back up running on your production. One area many companies need help is food safety reinforcements. We've got the classroom training, we've got hundreds of courses, and by the way, all of those courses can be revised. You can put in your own courses using some of our creative pedagogy. But reinforcement, that's an area that many of us don't really provide a lot of focus on. And it's absolutely critical. You don't want to spend time and money and resources doing classroom training only to find that your employees, like we said, 100% of you, maybe they forgot. Maybe they haven't been reminded of the protocols or procedures. Maybe we've got some bad habits out there and we don't even really know them. So we need to validate those expected behaviors that we've trained them on. Make sure those employees are doing what we're expecting them to do. So we created a coach app, a coach application. So you can assign your supervisor's task of really validating those behaviors, employee to employee, those critical food safety behaviors, proper hand washing, proper PPE wearing, et cetera, so that you can know 100% those employees have been validated on those behaviors. They've been given feedback on, yes, you're doing the right thing. And that's extremely powerful to really reinforce the right protocols. All those are documented and they're stored safely in the cloud. So it's an automated process. And it eliminates all the paper-based systems that you might have. And of course, if you're focused on food safety culture, and I know that's been part of our conference, there's no better way to take a look at validation of those critical food safety behaviors. So using a tool like Coach will help you. Another tool we offer is huddle guides. So that reinforces topics in a group setting. So a supervisor then is able to go in, has a huddle guide, and it has very consistent questions. People use these on a monthly basis on very key food safety topics to really, again, reinforce the conversation around it. It's what I call rolling thunder around food safety. It's a constant reminder that food safety is important to our organization. We're going to talk about it. We're going to answer questions about it. And of course, as you're engaging and you're having your supervisors engage those employees, you're also uncovering, maybe they're unsure. Maybe we've got some people that don't really understand certain areas of your protocols. And so that's a great way to uncover those and then do some remediation. We also really encourage our customers to take advantage of high traffic areas, so like break rooms, and play things like digital signage. We have these on continuous loop, and again, they link up to important common food safety topics. Yet another way for people to be eating in the break room and then be able to see those messages. We also offer posters, again, matched up to those critical food safety elements and expectations. And it's all a way to immerse that employee and convey the importance of food safety to your operation and to your employees. As you know, Audit Ready is absolutely critical for compliance. So, and we've seen some of the challenges of refresher training and time to train, and so all of that. So we document training in real time, and it stores in the cloud for instant paperless reporting. So that's right. You're asking yourself, what about my sign-up sheets? Those go away. No more quiz grading. All of that is automated. And so you can imagine the time and the money you save. And oftentimes we save considerable amount of hours just moving into using technology to help automate that process. All right, we've talked about training solutions, we've talked about reinforcement solutions, and we've talked about compliance help. Let's take a look at how we're helping some of your peers. So let's take a look at Maple Leaf Foods.
Our main vision for Maple Leaf is to provide safe, great tasting food to all of our consumers.
We did have a major incident here in Maple Leaf that really drove our food safety culture.
Alchemy was one of those tools that came in, and we said one of the fundamental aspects of any culture for food safety is making sure that people understand it. To understand it, you need to train it properly. Alchemy was able to take Maple Leaf's programs. They actually tailored it to Maple Leaf, which is fantastic.
Training seems a little more fun.
There's some humor, there's some examples.
Everybody's watching the same video, everybody knows what to expect of each other.
It's very detailed, but it tests them. That's key, because we weren't able to test that comprehension before. In terms of coach, it offered that next step to take tasks observations, put them into the coach product, and take them out on the floor.
Task observations were manual before. We weren't able to electronically track, so it was more on the word of the supervisor, what they were completing and the types of questions they were asking.
You see them more on the floor, observing more people.
We've had a dramatic improvement of the amount of task observations that are completed.
Our supervisors can't be doing their jobs effectively if they're not on the floor. When you go back a week later after you've put it into a spreadsheet, after you've analyzed them, you say, oh, John Smith wasn't doing his job properly, they forget. So if we do it right then and there, we have that ability to not only correct the behavior, but also allow them to offer insight as to how the program could possibly be better.
It gives you the opportunity to discuss things that you're concerned about, where you might not have the confidence to say in front of a large group.
Improvements I've seen everywhere. A lot of people just want to do the right thing now.
Our recordable incident rate has dropped dramatically. We've seen a 60% improvement. You can see the commitment here in Brantford when you walk out on the floor.
I am 110% confident that our employees are doing everything they can to make sure that the product that we produce is safe, it tastes great, and I think that we've come a long way to make sure that we get there.
So for those of you who had trouble with that video, all of these videos are available on the site, and you can click on them at your convenience. So we're not doing this in a long distance way. But one of the key things about Maple Leaf is they've been an innovator in the food safety culture world. They have been moving in this direction and working in this direction for a while. Certainly had lots of return on their investment, but also they have got their culture up to a level where their employees are masters at food safety, and they can identify those hazards themselves and not waiting on supervisors or management to point out or address issues. big difference, and certainly a indication of the maturity of their food safety culture and a decrease in their risk. Now let's take a look at Bigelow Tea.
I'm Bruce Ennis, and I'm the Vice President of Human Resources for Bigelow Tea. Bigelow Tea is the maker of specialist teas. It all began with Constant Comment 70 years ago, and we've expanded into over 100 different types of specialty tea since then.
2 years ago, training wasn't standardized. With a 72% completion rate, we realized that our employees are falling behind.
We needed a program that carried a diversity of training which covered all of our needs. But the wonderful thing that we've realized through managing with Alchemy is the ability to actually tailor our own training programs.
With the creator portion of Alchemy, I have created learning plans for all the locations based on what their needs are, which is great because having 3 locations can be a challenge with training. We've used it on our frontline hourly employees, but also in our corporate environment.
I love the videos, they're entertaining, and we learn at the same time.
It's very hands-on. It kind of like brought everything together.
Last year, we had a great overall year, from having no lost time safety accidents, to reducing our quality holds by 20%, to reducing our quality complaints in half.
With Alchemy, we have a completion rate of 95%. We have been able to keep our training to about 12 to 14 hours per year. Previously, if we took what we do now as mandatory training, it would be at around 18 to 20 hours. What that equates to in tea bags is about 1.6 million tea bags, and that's a lot of tea.
They want us to be the best and always provide us everything to do it. This company is the #1.
The Alchemy training has gone a long way towards making our employees better employees, more knowledgeable employees, and more productive employees.
So Bigelow Tea had some really interesting results and in using Alchemy solutions. And I just asking you, what would it mean for you if you were able to decrease your customer complaints by 50%? What would be the time savings you would have, plus the goodwill that you have and the consumer trust that you would build, and having that kind of dramatic improvements in your organization. Let's take it our last company called Vanny Foods.
My name is Luke Vanny with the Vanny Foods Company. Vanny Foods manufactures for food service distributors. Almost all of the product that we're putting out of here is under a brand that some other company owns. And they trust us that we're putting out a safe, quality product under their brand.
We had workers' injuries, we had non-compliances within the organization, so we started to look at ways of helping employees to maintain consistency.
Since we've implemented the Alchemy training system, we've seen a dramatic increase in the awareness amongst our frontline employees of food safety issues. This awareness has resulted in a 36% decrease in number of customer complaints.
Vanny Foods Company has had 0 passive deviations, and we've had 0 food recalls. We've had 0 foodborne illnesses. It all begins with that frontline worker, giving them the tools that they need.
Once we provided the training through Alchemy, it touched all the areas that we needed to cover. I could look at the progression of the employees for their understanding based off of their test scores, and when there wasn't a satisfactory score, we could bring those individuals back in and give them some one-on-one training. Creator, where you can upload and have it to look just like what Alchemy has already created was just wonderful for me. I actually can make videos of our employees performing their jobs and upload it all into Alchemy. So it's like, wow, they feel a part of the organization and they take pride in helping to produce the quality products.
One of my favorite parts is the multiple questions, competition that we have with a controller.
We've had 6 consecutive BRC reviews. They didn't start out with A's. That was before Alchemy. When we did achieve our A, it was done with the partnership of Alchemy.
Now we can embrace a culture of learning.
As a person that's interacting with customers every day, I can't do my job if I don't have confidence in the service that we're providing. Having that Alchemy system in place gives me that confidence.
I think you see, and you probably hear directly from our partners out there that, having a culture of learning and really drives that engaged workforce. A workforce that receives that training, they become more confident. They appreciate their company giving them that information to better do and execute their jobs. And when you have those employees that are engaged, then you have those employees that are following your protocols and they're doing it consistently. So I guess the question is, are you ready to optimize your learning organization? Are you interested in learning more about how we can actually save you money and make your training more effective? So I invite you to come to our virtual exhibit here at the Food Integrity Conference. Learn more, set up a meeting with myself or one of my amazing colleagues. I'm confident we can deliver a strong return on your training investment as your partner. So with that, I'll turn it over to Beth Ann. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, Laura, to you. A really interesting case study there. I always like to hear about training, and food. My ears pricked up when you said food safety culture. It is a subject I am fascinated with, and a reduction in complaints and 0 recalls sounds like a pretty good deal to me. So yeah, a couple of questions for you. To start with, a common expression is, there's not enough time in the day. I'm far too busy, and I'm guilty of this. I say
we all are.
We all are, absolutely. So we saw people say, that was one of the most common reasons as to why they didn't have training. What do you say to those who say, well, I simply don't have time?
Yeah. First of all, I think you have to understand priorities. Training is really one of those foundational things that you absolutely need to have. And it's one of those things you've just got to make the time. Now, the key is that you're training effectively, and we saw that in some of those poll surveys. How do we know that we're training effectively, right? And that's where you do that verification of behaviors. Well, you've got to carve out the time. Now, honestly, Beth Ann, we have, as QA managers, most of the time, we're the ones trying to make the training, and we're technical folks. We like to put all the technical information in there, and those training events on subjects that we hold near and dear to our hearts can be very technical and very long. And I would suggest that you could decrease your training by really speaking in the language of those employees. We like to build training right around an 8th grade level, something like that, a very simple level. We put lots of visuals in the training. So we're making sure that the auditory, the visual learners, the kinesthetic learners, where we're answering questions, with our remote controls, we're engaging all of those learning aspects to really shorten the training time. So, and I think one of the things that people do when they say we don't have time, it's because they don't have the systems and the technology that helps to automate that process. Like I said, they know when they have a training event that they're going to have to do the sign-up sheets, and they're going to have to do the quiz gradings and organize all of that. And many of our partners have moved away from or in addition to classroom training, they've put the accountability on the employee and saying, look, to be an employee in this position, this is what you need. Here's the kiosk, here's the computer, and you need to take this within the next 60 days or 90 days. And so now that employee is empowered to educate themselves. And you start to find a shift in that continuum, in that learning organization of now it's not a push, but it's a pull of learning. And that makes a big difference.
And that's what food safety culture is about. It's about, fostering that kind of mentality.
That's right.
It has to start from management, but it's a whole company-wide thing. You preempted one of my questions, Laura. We're on the same wavelength. No, don't worry. It's just, I was going to say everyone learns differently. We all go to school and we get told about the different learning styles, and then when we get in the workplace, it seems to be forgotten about. It's death by PowerPoint. I think is something we all experience. So it's great to actually hear, that you're catering to these different learning styles with these visuals. We're coming to a close now, but I do want to fit in a couple more questions. You mentioned about a paperless system. What is the benefit there?
Well, less errors, right? You're not going to get transcription errors. You're not going to, lose errors. You gain compliance. Literally, most of our partners, when the auditor comes in and they say, we need to look at your training registrar and review your learning, and they say, we have Alchemy, many auditors will go, okay, never mind, because they know within a couple clicks, they can look at anybody's transcript, any employee, they can see how they, what they were trained on and how they performed in them. Plus they have the validation material, all that coaching validation. And they see the different reinforcement tools used. So you get the compliance. And I think, a lot of us are kind of frightened about technology, but our platform is intuitive and it allows people to even facilitate, the training themselves. You don't have to just turn on a machine. I mean, we have facilitation of the training if that's desired, but you're gonna have a more effective training, and it's because we're learning experts. Not myself, but I'm a microbiologist, but our team is made up of learning experts and animators and instructional designers. It's all about how do we have those adult learning effectiveness that we're looking for in sometimes on very technical subjects. And so it's not easy to do as a QA manager. When I was going to school as a microbiologist, I wasn't taught training techniques, so it's something that some people, can struggle with. And so relying on technology, relying on the automation, and people, we've been doing this for 18 years. We have lots of experience in it. So that's helpful.
Okay, great. And just as a final question, in terms of just to give our audience a bit more clarity, you mentioned about customization for the courses. Let's say we've got two very different people on the spectrum. So on one side, we've got someone that says, I know exactly what we want to do, and I want to make this completely bespoke. And then we've got another person on the completely opposite, and they're like, well, we don't really know what we're doing. What kind of training should we do? Do you offer kind of both options?
We absolutely do. So part of our solution is those hundreds of courses already ready to go, ready to tee up, training on all the key things that you would expect from food safety. So it's the hand washing, it's the allergens, it's HACCP, it's all of those things. Now, it's absolutely a best practice to customize that to your organization. We encourage people to take our video or our photo out and put a photo of your equipment and your plant. We have partners that are taking videos of employees doing the wrong thing, and they have the big red X on that, and then doing the right thing and having the big green check mark. And there is nothing more engaging than being able to see your colleagues up there and identifying with that. And there's a fun factor. And of course, we suggest that you engage your employees to help build this training and vet the training. And do they understand the training? Does it make sense? What needs to be changed? So now, if you are very confident in your training, you can, everybody has training now, to be quite honest. But if you're good to go with that training, you can put it into our system very easily, completely bespoke. And you can add quizzes to it. We make it really easy to add the remediation loops, retrain some people, re-ask the questions. We have a gamification at the end where people are competing. They have various questions to reinforce as part of our pedagogy, to reinforce things. And so you can take advantage of the gamification and insert that into your training. So we have a lot of things that we can help, even in the structure of your training, to optimize it.
I needed this at the start of lockdown, Laura, when we all started doing quizzes.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I know, Bethan, I know.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a real delight and a lovely way to close the second day of Food Integrity. It has been going far too quickly, but we still have 3 more days to look forward to. And just because our live sessions are over for today doesn't mean you can't continue utilising the platform or revisit anything. Everything's available on demand for 12 months. So if you missed any of today's or yesterday's sessions, you can go back and watch them. Thank you very much to Laura. It's been a pleasure, and it's goodbye from me today, but I encourage you all to keep networking and making the most of this amazing platform. Food Integrity is an interactive event, so please do go interact and connect with others, such as Laura. My colleague Joshua Minchin, Junior Editor of New Food, will be looking after you tomorrow, but don't worry, I'll be making an appearance as moderator. You can't keep me away from Food Integrity. For a session on allergen management at 2 p.m. UK time. I cannot wait. Of course, I was going to plug my own panel, but we also have a brilliant third day ahead, including a panel session on preventing fraud and adulteration, a workshop on how to manage fake news, and a clinic session on the top must-haves in a lab partner. That is just a few, so go and check the agenda. I'll see you soon. On behalf of New Food and our sponsors, thanks again for joining us.